It's time for an update on my multi-group build GTO project. This one falls into the Blue Ox Modeling's Street Machine Group Build, Woody's Rock and Roll on Wheels Group Build, NYS Modeling's Pro Street Group Build, and the Lucas C 67-72 GTO Group Build. That's a lot of group builds. I've mentioned some of the work on this project has been done at a local in-person group build, which I highly recommend if you have one in your area.
So let's talk a little bit about the body. So basically when you look at this real close, there's this edge here. It's kind of hard to see, maybe with Mr. Knife. And it runs all the way down the body. And this is not actually on the real car. This line is sharp, but it's not raised. And what they've tried to do here is mold in a pinstripe. Because when you look at the real car, most of them have a pinstripe that runs down here. So, you know, you can kind of see the shadow of it. And it's not supposed to be there, bottom line. So the other thing that you have to watch out for is the door lines. The door lines are basically non-existent, especially on the front edge. And so when you go to start sanding this off, you will eliminate the door lines. And when you remove the door handles as well. I mean, I could zip them off with the knife, but we're going to sand those off and replace them because there's so many other options for door handles. And I'm sorry, I don't really like painting stuff like that. I mean, if I can have a chrome door handle, I'm going to just put a new door handle on it. So, and then the other thing that's kind of going on, we've already started on this side, is there's a bad little spot back here that's going to have to require some filler. And then this side, I've already scribed the door lines. And if you're a fan of the channel, if you've watched this channel, I've gone into depth of how I scribe door lines. And it's basically using scribing tape and the panel scriber, or the backside of the X-Acto knife, whatever it takes. Another thing that you got to look out for is right in here is real funky. The door line actually goes out to about here and then down, and it is non-existent there. And there's also a mold line in the middle here, which kind of is what makes the A-pillar here a little bit wavy. So you need to look out for that. Careful sanding in here. And so when you're sanding in here, you're eliminating the window molding trim as well. So you got to watch out for that. So what I've done over here is, I don't know if it's kind of hard to see, but I've already scribed the edge around here. And yeah, we got a little bit of cleanup to do, of course. But then I scribed this edge for the windshield and this edge for the side trim. So when it comes time to bare metal foil that later, I have an edge already. So this didn't take that much work. It is a little tedious. If you can't see it, get an OptiVisor and just take your time. And this kind of stuff will actually make your model look so much better. My body is blocked out, it's not wavy. And so when we put a cool paint job on this thing, it's gonna be razor sharp. Another thing to watch out for, this edge here, this should be a sharp edge in the real car. That is actually an edge, so do your best to save that. It's a little bit wavy, so that we're gonna have to block out the top of the fenders, but really pay attention to keeping that if you want it to look right. I've considered taking the wipers off, but these are actually, you know, as far as the body goes, that's pretty well defined. And I just don't think I want to go there, because that requires a lot of tedious and then cleaning up these vents and all like that. And I think I'm going to just foil those in the end. Back window, it's actually pretty good. We can leave that. And then there was a lot of work all up and down here, because this is where the mold line is. And it's all wavy, and I've just kind of eliminated it all and blocked it out real good. And I'll likely put a piece of evergreen back along the edge here to foil from. And if you notice, you know, I've eliminated the GTOs, the Pontiac, which is not supposed to be there, as we all know. The GTO that goes back here. And the little emblem that goes here. Because we have this. The GTO Le Mans detail set from Model Car Garage 67. It is for the AMT kit, not the Revell. But you get Tempest GTO grills, the trims, all kinds of goodies. And we will be using that to fix all of this. So, there you go. So after all that work, here we got some primer on it. And yeah, it's starting to look pretty good. It's kind of hard to see because it's flat, of course, but door lines look good. Posts back here, those are pretty flat. Still doing a little bit of work on this trim back here, but that should come out pretty good. And door lines look good. So let's move on to the engine. So I printed an engine, and this is a Butler Pontiac engine, and it has a twin turbo option, which I don't think I'm going to use because it's kind of not really what I want for this build. It's a Pro Street car, and kind of, you know, more towards the original Pro Street cars instead of these high-strung, you know, drag week type cars. So here's kind of the deal is I printed this, and then you got the body, and what that does is kind of looks like that, which is sort of looks okay. But when you stick it in there, yeah, it's a little big, which when I did some research online, do some measuring, helps if I turn it on, like 28.4, and the interwebs said that the engine should be like 25. So as you can see, it's quite a bit wider. So what do? I scaled it. And so now this one was printed at a lower percentage. And I'm about 25 and a 3, which is okay. But then when I put them side by side, it's subtle, but it's sort of like, you know, a 25th scale versus maybe a 23rd and a half scale. Scale is important, folks. So even with the size down engine, it's still going to be a pretty tough fit in there. And I've already started a little bit. It's gonna need to be ground out, like right in here and right in here, so those headers will slide in and it can get, you know, hunkered down where it needs to go. So what's the best tool for that? You all know it. Let's get busy. So the Butler Pontiac engine comes with this awesome super modified turbo 400, I guess. It's got a little doodad, and I didn't really get that on there very good, but it's just there to kind of mock it up, see what happens. And one of the issues is when you try to put that into the chassis, yeah, it's going to require a lot of tunnel work, and no, we're not going to do that. So what I'm thinking is, this is the kit's big block, which is kind of made to fit in there. And so to simplify things, we'll put that in the parts box, not burn pile, and break out the trusty saw. Get busy doing this.
After a bit of hacking and whacking, I've got the Pontiac fitted with a 4-speed transmission. I've also used the Chevelle's big block oil pan, since the 3D engine had a race-style dry sump system. The engine now sits in the engine bay nicely, but that single carb intake is kind of bugging me, because I think this style GTO needs tri-power. So I dug out this Mopar unit, and I think I can grind this up into a more Pontiac looking piece. And this looks like a good stopping place. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, you know what to do, because I have all kinds of model car stories to tell. Thanks for watching.